All right. Hey guys, this is Snorlax. You guys also know me as Tommy with Because Bitcoin. I'm here today to, try to decode a little bit the current state of Bitcoin market. I'll be presenting some very loose price predictions, but, I'm going to try to back it with a little bit of short term and high time frame technical analysis and maybe a little bit of outlook or an outlook on the market as far as, the ETFs and everything else that all this craziness is concerned to maybe give you a little bit of a better idea of what we can expect going into the halving next year. Obviously, like I said, the world is buzzing with events like what is Gary Gensler and the SEC, or what are they going to do with Binance and Coinbase next? And then simultaneously, you have, this interesting contrast where, BlackRock, the biggest asset manager in the world, is looking to file for a spot ETF. All the while exchanges face bans, yada, yada, yada. I mean, I can go on and on and on. The whole reason we get into crypto is because the space is highly, highly entertaining, and the time horizon that you kind of have this drama play out is much shorter than it would in, for example, like equity or forex markets. But let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to keep it pretty, surface level as far as technical analysis goes. But I do feel a little bit like we are at a bit of a crossroads, right? On the most basic level. I'm gonna zoom out first because I feel like you have to kind of set the stage for the market, set the stage for where everything's at. And at the moment, especially when I like to use log scale almost like a Hopium filter or a bias check. To me, take the moving averages aside, right? When we look at this structure, like this was a extremely dramatic run up, a very dramatic parabola, right? What happens when you have a very dramatic parabola? It takes a very long time to unwind positioning, to unwind a lot of the underpinnings of the market, right? So we had this huge run up, and even then, this in itself was not a pretty picture down here. We still were able to form, what for many was an inexplicable double top, simply because we had, residual shorts here, obviously, up here, and the market slowly ended up rebalancing all of those shorts. We're seeing a similar effect now, right? Where you have this massive drawdown from the high. The real drop from the bull market was actually in 2022, even though we kind of showed signs of weakness right here. And so now we're kind of seeing we're seeing different problems now, right? Yes, there are residual shorts, but we've now reached the point where we have flushed a majority of short positioning out of the market, up to 30K. However, you still have this consolidation here. You have these consolidations here, right? This 30 to 40K region, which is directly above price. I mean, that's supply. Yes, we do have a spot demand here, and you can clearly see it. Look at this beautiful volume right here that we formed a bottom with and formed throughout this entire consolidation on the largest exchange in crypto and Binance. However, this supply right now is currently capping price. And until we can kind of cross, I like to consider it almost like a Rubicon, right? This consolidation here where, things really hit the fan. 3AC, had the whole issue with staked ETH, Luna blew up, and we still have not filled these inefficiencies yet. I think that would be the goal on any immediate term price action move, would be to fill these inefficiencies, right? That would almost be symbolic, right? And crossing over, I wouldn't say a paradigm into a bull market, but, certainly the type of, Rubicon you would cross where you would say, okay, we've rebalanced the capitulatory event. That doesn't mean we have to go straight to all-time highs, but that's definitely a good sign for, that the market's health could be recovering. As far as, on a little bit more granular timeframes, we can take a look at that too, because it is important. And, my outlook is pretty similar to the high time frame. At the end of the day, I believe if, if you caught the bottom here, you bought in here, great job. I would say now you've done the hard part. You probably want to sit on your hands. And if you see weakness, look at hedging, or just look at, buying in favorable opportunities. But, when I was talking about how things take a really long time to unwind, right? You're already kind of seeing, we have this grind, this uptrend, right? Clearly not as much momentum as we saw in 2021, where it went parabolic. That's not really, to me, the start of a parabolic bull market. These moves typically happen very, very quickly. So it wouldn't shock me at all if, we get some price action where, yes, we can trade higher. Absolutely. We have all these inefficiencies we were pointing out earlier from a capitulatory event that could get rebalanced, but, trading into them and then probably trading back down lower, not for the purpose of just trading lower to trade lower, but because momentum, this is a strong move to the downside in the same way that this was a very strong move to the upside. So the amount of time time that we should go sideways here theoretically should probably, I mean, my inclination is that it will probably be longer. So, maybe we put in another high, end up, trading back down into here, but ultimately a little bit more range. And then, once we break out of that range, we can get the same move that we had right here on Bitcoin, right? Like that super parabolic uptrend that saw all of our tokens and Bitcoin especially, hit all-time highs. But as far as price prediction goes, I don't really have, too much to do with price predictions, because I feel like markets are very unpredictable. And every time you feel like you understand them well enough to predict where price will be in say 6 months to a year, you might not know as much as you think you do, or you might be missing something that's really key. So for me, I'd like to keep my price predictions fairly conservative. I would say for 2024, I think Bitcoin will probably top out at 45, 50K. And I say that just because, right, when Bitcoin really does go parabolic, it will do multiples in a very, very short period of time. And it is kind of tricky to time, right? Do you think the bull run or the next bull cycle for Bitcoin occurs at the end of 2024? Do you think it occurs, in the beginning of 2025? And if we start to get that move in 2024, then you can always throw my predictions out the window, right? We could always, we could technically, if that were the case, we could make all-time highs next year. I don't think that's what's going to happen personally. But if that's the framework you're operating under, then, maybe. As far as Ethereum goes, maybe you'd have to be very confluent with the ETH Bitcoin pair. If Bitcoin's at like 45 or 50K, then ETH's probably at 25, 3,000. But I think those are the high-end targets for next year if you can get them. There are some things I do believe that would probably need to occur, before that can happen. But lastly, I'll give some thoughts on the SEC and the Bitcoin ETF spot, because currently right now all we have are these futures ETFs, which are actually not very good for price. And in my opinion, if you're looking for upside, just because, contrary to what a lot of crypto Twitter will lead you to believe, that, futures are actually a fantastic instrument for hedging, whereas most people use them traditionally for just directional betting, which is okay. I mean, that's a great way to use them as well. And it can be, a more favorable way to use your capital instead of spot. But, when people are looking to hedge using a futures ETF rather than buy with a spot ETF, you're putting downward pressure on price, and people aren't holding on to tokens. Or they're not holding on to their coins. So I think that's something to be mindful of. And the spot ETF would certainly change things quite substantially. It gives a tremendous amount of credibility to Bitcoin that BlackRock wants to become involved in this asset class in the way that they do. That doesn't have to necessarily mean that we're going to get these huge flows immediately to the space, but it does, like I said, it does lend a little bit more credibility to the space, especially when you have the largest asset manager in the world talking about buying them in the future and custodying it for their customers. But those are my thoughts on as far as Bitcoin, the Bitcoin market goes. I hope that helps, guys. It's a little bit tricky to decipher exactly what Bitcoin's going to do, in my opinion, over the next, 3, 6, 9, even 12 months. Generally, we have a pretty good outlook of where it can be over the next 4 or 5 years, which is likely to be higher, unless, in my opinion, something's gone horribly wrong. But that's just a little background and commentary I have for you guys. So I hope you enjoyed this review. If so, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you're new, and click the bell icon to stay updated. For our returning subscribers, thanks as always for watching. Until next time, guys, and remember, in the world of cryptocurrency, knowledge is your best asset. So staying informed with these markets and everything going on with them, especially when things can change at the drop of a hat, is so important. But y'all have a great rest of your day, and thanks for listening.